Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to another StarCraft 2 video. What I got for you today is a game that I am playing at the exact same time, and my opponent is right, he's saying no random. I have been doing a lot of random lately over at the live stream, but in this game, I decided to queue up as Zerg and I'm going up against a Protoss. So of course I'm playing this at the exact same time as I'm also giving commentary to it, which sometimes makes things a little bit more tricky, but I think we should be in for a relatively good game. I'm feeling good today, played a couple of games as warm-up, and yeah, so far, everything is looking really solid. I'm gonna go for that hatchery first on the low ground. And of course, I want to try and play a more macro-focused game. Now, I already have covered several different strategies as far as Zerg vs Protoss goes on this YouTube channel before, although maybe I'm going to be forced into something a little bit differently here. Not sure why that probe went all the way to the back of the mineral line. Ah, it's one of those guys. It's one of those guys, eh? One of those guys. All right, all right, all right. We can have a look at what is going on here for the most part. I don't know if this is a fake. I've had several Protoss players completely fake this kind of stuff out, which makes this a little bit of an awkward scenario. What he could be trying to do is a cannon rush, but we don't actually know at this point. Yeah, I think it's just a fake. So since a lot of people have been cannon rushing again in StarCraft 2 over the last few months, a lot of Protosses have started faking this, right? It's basically just a bluff. And they try and force you to overreact and therefore lose a lot of mining time. I think that's a fake. Pretty sure. I'm gonna take the gamble. I don't think he would have canceled that or only went for a single pylon if it was a little bit more aggressive. At the very least, I'm not capable of scouting now with my second Overlord. Anyway, looks like we have ourselves a tricky Protoss player. Right? He's trying to play the meta game rather than what you would normally expect. Well, it's alright. I think we should be in a good. Spot. Yeah, there's just simply a gateway right here and then a nexus too. Right? There we go. What I did forget though was the Overlord there for just a bit. I purposefully didn't make it, just in case it was a cannon rush. I would have rather relied on the supply of my hatchery finishing up at that point. So that Overlord here was a little bit later, and with that, the Queen is a little bit later too. But all things considered, shouldn't matter all too much. We already do see the Chrono Boost right there on the gateway. Don't know what it's gonna be, but it does look like it's an Adept, so for now, looks like my Overlord can go in and maybe check out if there's something a little bit cheeky. Don't know exactly where the probe went to, but with the Adept out on the map and the drone escorted to the natural, or to the third rather, I think I'm in a good spot. Just simply leave them at home and start spreading around some creep here as well. What I'm looking for right now is what tech he's going for. So there is the shade of the Adept moving forward. I'm gonna make one more group of links. Link speed will be finishing up in about 20 seconds or so. Just following this one around. I don't think he's gonna commit. No, he's not. What's this? A Stargate. Alright, very good. So with the Stargate spotted, I'm gonna go ahead and send my Overlords back into the mineral line. Don't know exactly what it's gonna be yet. This Overlord is dead. I'm sorry, Mr. Overlord. If it's a Phoenix, it's dead. I don't think he wants to commit, right? Oh, he was? Alright, okay, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead, I'll take that. There is a Phoenix first here, so I don't need to necessarily rush out my spores, but generally speaking, it's a good idea to start up your spores right around, I would say, 3 minutes and 30 seconds. It's a pretty good spot to start up those, spore crawlers. Now, I don't see a follow-up here of very much of anything yet, which is a little confusing. Okay, what's that? That's an Oracle. Alright, good. Sometimes the tilting of the screen is pretty helpful. Gotta go ahead and make a couple more queens here, just because I can. Did I really hit a supply block? Oh no, I did not. Well, I did, I guess, but it's okay. Let's start up the lair. And I'm gonna start a small group of Zerglings here too. So, one of the builds that players have been playing lately again, because a couple of pros have been doing it in the GSL, is Adept pressure after the Phoenix play. Basically, they shoot away at my Overlords and then they follow it up with a bunch of Phoenixes. It's a little tricky to read. So I'm actually getting a couple of safety sets of Zerglings here just in case. That's 3 Phoenix already, okay. So this is definitely, I don't know if it's double Phoenix. Yeah, it's double, okay, double Stargate. If that's the case, I'm gonna go ahead and start up an Evo Chamber here too. And I think I can actually go without the Roach Warren, but since I'm already kind of committed to it, I think I'm fine letting it finish for now. Against Mass Phoenix, though, it is pretty important that we get ourselves a pretty good economy out. The thing is, he can lift up queens and units here for days, but he's gonna have a hard time fighting my worker count for now. So a couple of extra spores. I might end up losing a queen or two, which is kind of unfortunate, but as long as I can deny the third here, I'm in a pretty good spot. Trying to make sure that he can't really get a good angle. He's likely gonna get a couple of workers. Trying to target here with all of my units. Okay. Gonna run that one away. We'll go for the armor upgrade here first. Well, actually, no, I'm gonna go melee upgrades. Actually, no, I'm gonna go missile. I'm gonna go missile and carapace. I think that's the correct choice. A little bit hesitant here. He lost quite a lot there, though. I don't think that necessarily was worth it for him. Oh, wow. What are you guys doing over there? Okay. Roach speed. Gotta go for the infestation pit. And we're continuously trying to snipe this probe.
More overlords required. Swarm forces not under attack.
There we go. It's not bad at all, actually. It kind of helps me out quite a bit. Considering he killed a few workers too, I don't think we're in a bad spot. Gotta go carapace here. Carapace is great if he follows it up with... Okay. If he follows it up with other units. So one of the common follow-ups, obviously, is carrier play, right? After mass Stargate. So I kind of want to try and go for carapace early. What's he trying to do? He's trying to do something here. I don't like this. That's the second Protoss probes that he sent across, or it's the second probe that the Protoss sent across the map.
Swarm forces under attack.
I did get quite a few workers here, though, all things considered. Yeah, he's been getting quite a few workers too, though. Kinda sucks. I'm looking to get a fourth base, but I don't think I'm gonna get it. As long as he's on point with the lifts. I'm gonna have to wait until I get a couple of Hydras out. Sneak it out, sneak it out, sneak it out, sneak it out! Nope. Alright, well at this point I'm kind of in an awkward position. I've got a good eco, got a lot of units, but I kinda need a fort. I can't really pressure, I can't really move out. Because I don't have a lot of upgrades yet. I think I'm gonna set myself up for a pretty big timing attack though. I'm gonna bring the queens and a couple of Hydras now to try and get this base going.
Evolution complete.
I don't know if that was worth it, to be honest. Kinda lost more than it was worthwhile, I think. The thing is, of course, Phoenixes kind of fall off as far as like their value goes the longer that this game goes on, right? Because basically as soon as there's a really massive army out, all of a sudden they are not as great as they were prior to that. Do have that macro hatchery finishing up, and he's definitely gonna have a very solid economy here too. Alright, so I've started up 2-2. I've got a decent amount of drones, but I'd like to get some more here for that newly acquired base. Gonna go ahead and send some drones already towards that base, even though it hasn't really gotten to that point yet. I want to start transitioning towards the hive here to maybe go up to Brood Lords. But I do think we have to go for a bit of an engagement here. Hydra's in the back, Roaches in the front. Ooh, that's super good. Not a massive deal, but it will slow him down. Oh my god! Dude, thank you for the love. Oh, that's why. Okay. I'm gonna try and continue pushing here with a small chunk of my force. Sending the other half back. Trying to force warpins over here, right? That's kind of the goal here. Okay, he decided to mass recall. I don't know where to, though. It's probably... Yeah, this is a little awkward, all right? He's playing this smart, though. I like the idea. It's really good thinking here by my opponent. I did deal a little bit of economic damage too, but he obviously dealt more by forcing the kill there on that fourth. He's playing tricky games. I like it. Alright, I'm gonna start splitting up my army. Let's test this multitasking. Well, that was good so far. Alright. So I've got the Greater Spire and whatnot coming up in about a minute or so from now.
Swarm forces under
Okay. He's running out of steam now, though. Those force fields were popped rather quickly. Okay. Greater Spire now coming up. I'm gonna move some drones over towards my fort base. Plus, we're still pushing on the other side too, right? Okay, moving across with a big chunk. Trying to save some gas now, for the most part. Gas obviously gonna be phenomenal once this spire finishes. Okay, very good. I want to get like a couple of static defense structures there. All right. If I could snipe this base though, that'd be great. I'm already following it up right now with more units. Oh god. Well, if there's one thing that he's not getting, it's anti-air. Alright, alright. So that's all. It's okay. I'm gonna lose that entire force more than likely. If I could snipe the base though in the process, that'd be amazing. There's still the disruptor, obviously. So gotta try and prevent those from murdering my army. But we are now making the switch towards brutes ourselves, right? Oh, some value probes there. Okay, very nice. Let's go and take a base over here. Greater Spire is done. We can start up our brutes. He doesn't seem to have really any army that shoots up. If he's making disruptors, obviously that's an indication he's not expecting this either. We'll go ahead and get attack upgrades here, and I've got my 5th base now moving forward here too. Gotta get myself more gas, and I'm also gonna get a couple of spines over here. The one thing about brutes obviously is that they are super slow, but also extremely potent. Like, they deal a lot of damage. Gonna set some Zerglings across again. There we go. And we can start up probably +3 missile here too. Really should have started up the gases at this base a little bit quicker though. Do I have all my other gases saturated? Do. Still not seeing a fort here from my opponent, which is very good for me. Now notice I'm not playing super aggressively. I think that's the correct call. I used to play super aggressively in these kind of scenarios, but I don't think I should. Okay. Just trying to buy some time here. That's cool. Going up to 3-3 upgrades. I do have a lot of probes, or a lot of drones rather, a little bit too many. The idea being that I could start up some static defense here too. Maybe I got a little bit too many now though. Ooh, I kind of have a lot. My army count is actually not that big. Alright, alright. So he sees the brutes now, for the very first time. Question is he gonna engage? Because I personally would be very careful if I was him. He's got very little units that actually can destroy this. Obviously, if the carry, or if rather the Archons get underneath, he's in a decent spot, but... Alright. I want to kind of aim for like 80 workers or so this is decent. Crew spread is also decent. I feel like that's kind of the nature of the game so far. I'm not playing poorly, but my opponent is playing some really smart tricks that make it really hard for me to guess in what scenario I currently am. So I haven't seen a 4th. I probably should have scouted the other locations too, though. Alright, I'm gonna send some Zerglings all over the map. And right now I think it's time to go for a bit of an engagement. Okay, there's a base over here. Once again, gonna send Zerglings there. We'll send Hydras to that side of the map, and we'll start pushing over in this area. Zerglings going into the natural. Zerglings going into the 3rd too. A couple of Hydras moving over here. And we're moving with our main force at the same time. I killed a lot of his units just now, which obviously makes it super hard for him to actually split up his forces. Okay, it looks like he's moved over to that area. That means that I can make a move towards his 3rd base and his natural. Get a free Void Ray, which is wonderful. I can probably start dealing a critical amount of damage. Now, my opponent is actually looking like he might go for a counterattack instead. That's not quite what I expected. Okay, gotta move a lot of units back. Obviously, my main army, it's very hard for him to kill, right? But the counterattack definitely can do work. I'm gonna send the more corruptors actually across. So I did just lose a base there. I got all of the workers out, which is nice.
Mutation complete. Creep tumor under attack.
Okay. Still pushing.
Must spawn more overlords.
Trying to nibble away at his force here. Okay, transfuse, transfuse, transfuse. Okay, trying to go for a bit of a sandwich now. He's got a lot of units, but not even remotely enough to take on all of my army. Okay, I'm gonna send part of my Hydras over here to both set up a sandwich as well as to continue onwards with the pressure. Moving drones towards the top right-hand base, which he's currently scouting, so he knows what's up. Gonna send some Zerglings over there too. Okay, here we go. Oh, no sandwich needed. He's already mass recalling.
Command unacceptable. Mineral cluster. Must spawn more overlords.
And my opponent decides to just simply GG. Okay, good. Whew, that was closer than it needed to be. Okay, let's recap that one real quick. That was actually a really fun match. Yeah, look at that. He was once again going here for the aggression in the top right-hand corner. Luckily, I was already sending units across as well. Let's go back a little. So the early game kind of had me confused, right? He was trying to play some tricks, and this is one of the playstyles that I really like whenever Protoss players do go for that. He was faking the counter rush, and then he was going into the double adept play, and then he followed it up with a bunch of stargates, and then he didn't actually follow it up with adepts, but instead of third base. It's like all these tricks that he was playing that would just make it very hard for me to decide what his actual plan was. So in the end, he was really just taking a bit of a different approach into getting into the mid game, which, you know, I like. It's smart play. It's smart play. But obviously, it's technically inferior, but because he makes me guess about 100 times as to what is going on, he gets to a point where he's still in a really good position. Now, what I feel like really allowed me to be in a good spot is just the droning, right? We had a lot of workers here, and while my fourth base was late, he also delayed his third to like 6 minutes, which in general is later than you would normally expect. So he sacrificed a bunch of eco. I was forced to sacrifice a bunch of eco because I didn't quite get the third base up and running, or the fourth base rather. But all things considered, I still had a big enough economy to support all of these big pushes. Now, this is also a moment that I did not quite expect. This is just a straight up mistake from me. What I should have done, of course, is scouted whether or not he was moving here on the left-hand side of the map. I didn't. And it made me sit in this really awkward position. Now, I did go for a counterattack, and I did kill a couple of workers, but he got a full base for his troubles, and I only really got this, right? Now, he was flooding a little during this moment. So he may have actually mismacroed here for just a bit, which obviously is something that is worth pointing out. Imagine if he would have had like an additional 10 stalkers. Maybe he actually would have won the game at this point, but regardless. I'm trying to just simply push back this force, already sending a couple of roaches and hydras and whatnot across the map once again. This is not so much to do a lot of damage, but more so to force him to warp in at home, which means that he's not warping in with a, what's it called, a warp prism or whatever, on another point of the map. Now keep in mind, right before this moment, we did snipe the prism too, so I was fairly certain that he wasn't going to be able to do so, but it is something worth pointing out. Now, the timing of the hive, I do think, was pretty good. So I started up the hive around the same time as I finished, or as I started up +2/+2. So right around the time that I finished 1-1. And I do think that that was probably one of the smarter choices. I didn't expect a disruptor play. I think what my opponent assumed was that I was going to go into Lurkers, which I have been doing a lot. I've played against Samurai several times. So I think he assumed that I would go from Roach Ling into Hydra Lurker, which I considered there for a little bit, but considering I had a really quick 2-2, I figured it made sense to go up to a hive immediately, which I did. He didn't scout that I was going for such a quick hive. Look, he didn't see it. And with that, he had no clue about the Greater Spire either. So what my opponent probably should have done at this point is send more like hallucinated phoenixes or whatever across the map to figure out the timing of my hive. That way, he wouldn't have been going for this massive disruptor-based army, right? Because he's got a lot of units, but he really needed an additional Stargate or two at this point to start adding on more and more. For example, Tempest or Void Rays or anything along those lines. Now he sees the Brood Lords that are out. I've got a decent army once again. Now, Here's a thing that I've been trying to work on a little bit more at this point. I used to, whenever I would get like a couple of brutes out, I used to just simply move across the map and try to go for the kill. But what I found out is that usually, if your opponent has like a bunch of Stormy boys out, right, a couple of High Templar, or, you know, they make a bunch of Blink Stalker, or they have like 10 Archon like this guy has, if they manage to get a decent connection, the 6 brutes would just simply die. So in this state, I instead decide to go for a, much later push here, still with Brute Lords. Maybe I should have left some at home, it's kind of hard to say. He decides to go for the counter rather than defending his bases, which kind of feels like a desperation move here. But I do think whenever you get to Brute Lord tech, it is smart to sit back for a little while and go from there. Now, while my opponent technically still had a lot of bases up and running, his army supply was plummeting. And all things considered, I definitely was very, very far ahead. As far as units lost goes, yeah. I ended up getting some really good trades there against, in particular, the Immortal Archon-based army. Like, Immortals aren't really weak against anything, and neither are Archons, except for Brute Lords, right? Because the thing is, Immortals obviously can't shoot up, and Archons have this really short attack range. Whereas if you manage to get underneath the Brutes, obviously you can deal a lot of damage. But if you have enough Brute Lords out, obviously they will just keep throwing the Brutelings forward, and it makes it really difficult with like this slow attack animation for the Archons to get underneath as long as you position them properly. So as far as like control goes of Brutes, for example, this is a good spot to control them over. This is like a good area from like the low ground to the high ground, or basically just, you know, spaces on the map or places on the map where your opponent has a really hard time closing the distance if you have a small amount of army. Anyway, that was a really fun match. I ended up getting 16 MMR there. We are currently sitting at 5.3k MMR here in Master 1. I haven't played this account as much as of late, so I still have a bunch of bonus pool. I know some people look at this rank over here. Like, division ranks in StarCraft 2 are practically irrelevant. The only thing that's really relevant is your MMR. Basically, I got, I think, like 700-800 or so bonus pool in Master 1 right now on this account. I could easily climb. If I were to empty that bonus pool, right, then I would just play more games on this account. I split my attention between like 3 different accounts, by the way. But if I were to just simply spend my bonus pool, I'd be Master 1, rank 1, tier 1, right? Like we'd be in a cooler spot. It would look more badass. But in reality, the only thing that really matters here is the MMR count. Anyway, so I had 334 MMR. I know people, or 334 rather APM. I know people are always asking about that. I did make a lot of drones this game though. Yeah, I went all the way up to like 90 plus there for a while. It's kind of a bit too much, really. I probably should have scaled that back by like 10 or so, even with this much static defense. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notifications as soon as I upload more. Special shout out to the Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for helping me out directly. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you once again in the next one.